coming up on this week's podcast, talking points on relegation battle in the Premier League and a promotion in the Championship. This week's quiz is for Liam, and there's more Wonders of White and a Who Am I with a twist, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. It's Chris here, and Liam is here as always. Hello, Liam.
Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Yeah. was confident of third probably 2 weeks ago. A little less confident at the moment.
Yeah. I know we're going to get onto it a little bit more later, but that was a bit of a shock. I've got to be honest. I didn't see that one coming. But in fact, most of this weekend's results I didn't see coming.
Yeah. I mean, I sat through 90 minutes of drivel, if I'm honest. But we're talking about Everton in talking points, so I'm sure it will come up. But I hope they get relegated. So we'll go into this week's talking points, and we are going to talk about the relegation battle in the Premier League. Obviously, Norwich and Watford are down already, but there is probably now 3 teams, I would say, that are sort of scrapping not to be sent down now. I think Burnley, Leeds and Everton, would you agree, are the 3 teams that are going to be
I think so. It looks like
battling out.
One from those 3. To sort of sum up where we are at the moment, we obviously, I'm going to include the weekend's games in them. So obviously Burnley coming from behind to beat Watford, so they're now 16th on 34 points, level with Leeds. Everton, who looks to be down and out, but somehow managed to win against Chelsea, are now 18th on 32 points with a game in hand.
Yeah.
So win that and they're 1 point clear. It's anyone's guess now,
Yeah.
I think.
So, obviously your team Villa have got quite a big part to play in this, because you still have to play Burnley twice.
Yes.
This season, and Burnley have played Tottenham and Newcastle. But it's Leeds' games, I think, to me, on paper, look like the hardest run-in with. They've got Arsenal and then Chelsea, and then Brighton and Brentford are never easy games. So, and Everton have got that sort of cushion with an extra game in hand, and they play Leicester, who aren't playing particularly great at the moment. They play Watford as well. They also play Brentford and Arsenal as well. But it's it is tied up to be quite an eventful last sort of 4 games for the 3 teams, and you have to say at the moment advantage is probably with Burnley obviously being a few points clear, and they have momentum on their side at the moment. Obviously, since the sacking of Sean Dyche, they've actually started winning games and started playing really well.
Yeah, I think I'm looking now as well at goal difference, and obviously Leeds
have got the worst, haven't they?
Got the worst. I think the worst in the league, bar Norwich. So it's going to be worth an extra point at the end of the season, I think. I'm looking at their run-ins. Arsenal are going to have a big say in who goes down as well. They're playing Everton and they're playing Leeds. Everton-Arsenal is the last game of the season as well, so I think a lot will depend on whether Arsenal have 4th wrapped up, whether they need 3 points to get there at the end of the season.
Yeah.
You know, if they're out of the reckoning and they put out a younger side maybe, or a reserve side or something, that will obviously favour Everton. But that's not looking likely either. It's looking like that's going to go to the final day. So I'm looking at those results and I'm wondering where Leeds are going to get any points, if I'm being honest. I mean, they'll look at the Brighton game and think they might be able to get something from it. They'll look at probably Brentford and think they might be able to, but I've got to be honest, I can't see them getting points from any of their 4 games. I can see Everton beating Watford and maybe getting a result against Palace at home, depending on how the Goodison Park are, whether they're in good mood. I mean, I think a lot of what helped at the weekend was the atmosphere in that stadium.
Yeah.
We've said it before, Goodison Park is one of those old stadiums where for an opposition. You don't really want to play there when the crowd are fully behind the home side. It's going to be really tough. And if I'm being honest, I mean, above Burnley at the minute are Southampton. Now they're 6 points ahead of Burnley. The way that Burnley are going at the minute, Villa always lose to Burnley at least once. There's 3 points. Burnley are going to fancy getting some points from Spurs and Newcastle, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them close to Southampton. I don't think Southampton are in trouble, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them close to Southampton. I mean, 6 points in it. I think they could probably at least close the gap a little bit the way they've been playing. But, yeah, I think it's between Everton and Leeds. And personally, if I had to put money on any one of those three, I'd say it's Leeds at the minute.
I would agree. I think out of the three, I just think they haven't really been playing that well. Well, neither of Everton or Burnley really, but you know, you saw, you know, some fight in Burnley in the past sort of 3-4 weeks, and Everton seem to win the games that they probably should be losing, and then lose the games they probably should be winning.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Everton play live probably 3 times this season, on TV. They drew with Chelsea 1-0. They beat Man United 1-0, and they beat Chelsea 1-0. So, you know, I think more of the performances from them, like Sunday, and I think they'll be safe. I've kind of did a few calculations. I think that Burnley will get 6 points from the last 4 games. Leeds I've got getting 1 point, and Everton I've got getting 9 points. So for me, you know, it's a bit of a strange one because I don't think Leeds were ever really in the sort of reckoning on anyone's radar really to go down.
For a long time, I think obviously they got rid of Bielsa quite a while ago. They had a little bit of a bounce in performance, I would say, if not fully in results. They're not shipping as many goals as they probably were under Bielsa.
Yeah.
But Calvin Phillips has obviously come back into the side now, but they're still without Bamford. The defence is still shaky. If they're not conceding 4 goals a game, they're conceding 2 goals a game. So it's getting better, but I don't think it's going to get better in time for them to stay up. I can't see them getting. I mean, Arsenal away. Arsenal are a funny side, aren't they? They when they're good, they look really good this season. When they're bad, they could lose to anybody. You'd fancy Chelsea to win at Leeds, but then again, you would have fancied Chelsea to win at Everton as well. But I think with you still having something to play for now that you know third isn't completely tied up, I can see stronger performances coming.
Yeah.
Brighton are hard to score against, although they don't score many themselves. But if they're going to score against anyone, it probably would be at Leeds defence. And then Brentford are, you know, well organised, and they're the kind of team that I just can't see Leeds getting anything from. So it's going to be very difficult for them. But whichever one of those two, and I think it is one of Everton or Leeds, whichever one goes down, they've got some big players to sell probably in summer.
Yeah.
Bamford and Phillips moving, probably Meslier, I would imagine, would move from Leeds. Everton will obviously have Richarlison, Dele Alli, whether he signs or not.
Calvert-Lewin.
What will happen? Calvert-Lewin, Michael Keane, Jordan Pickford will probably all be looking to move. So it's going to.
You think Jordan Pickford would have to move, really, wouldn't he? Obviously, with the World Cup coming up.
I wouldn't have predicted either of these two sides to be down.
No.
At the minute. It has been a bit of a shocking season for both of them. One of them I'm quite enjoying, to be honest. I'm not going to say which. I'll let you guess which of those teams I'm enjoying seeing at the bottom. But not.
Well, it's not Burnley, and it's definitely not Everton.
No.
So yeah.
No, but I mean, whichever one goes down, you have to imagine they're going to get rid of a lot of players, and it's going to be an interesting championship season for whichever one does.
Cool. Well, speaking of championship, we're going to move over to there now and look at sort of the promotion chances of some of the teams in there. Fulham obviously up already, as are Bournemouth as of tonight. They've beaten Nottingham Forest 1-0. Obviously, Fulham have just completely ended up running away with it, scoring 106 goals. Mitrovic getting, I think, 43 of those, which is absolutely unbelievable, really, when you think about it. But it's the playoff place, the last two sort of playoff places, which are the ones that are still up for grabs. With Sheffield United, Luton, and Middlesbrough fighting for those two last places, and Middlesbrough being the one team that are just outside at the moment. Luton yesterday as well. It was a heavy defeat for them, losing 7-0 to Fulham.
And their goal difference was looking good as well.
They're down to single digits now, I think, on goal difference. So it will be obviously Fulham and Bournemouth are probably the two that we expected at the start of the season to probably be going straight back up. West Brom probably in and around that, but they haven't really looked anything like any good really since Steve Bruce took over. They've probably been worse actually under Steve Bruce than what they were before that. But you've got Sheffield United. They've all got one game to play. Sheffield United have got to play Fulham on the last day of the season. So I'm not saying Fulham are not gonna be going for that game, but obviously they've their season's done. They're already up. They've already won the league, so they've got nothing to play for. Luton are playing Reading, and Middlesbrough are playing Preston North End. So it's going to be very, very close, and I think it will probably stay as they are. I think Luton would have had a bit of a shock after that result yesterday. But I did read that they are missing quite a few of their key players in defence and midfield. So apparently he is having to throw some of the players that haven't played a huge amount of minutes this season into the last couple of games. And then obviously for them, Luton, we spoke about them the other week. It would be really good to see them obviously in the Premier League, but they are going to have to get some of their big players back if they make the playoffs, before the playoff semi-final. But yeah, it's always interesting because there's so many good teams in that league, isn't there?
There is. It has been a strong league this year, and actually so is League One. I mean, some of the teams in League One this season were Premier League teams, like good Premier League teams, not even 10 years ago. But yeah, I think we all expected Fulham and Bournemouth to be up there. Obviously West Brom, like you say, big club. I would have expected them to have been in and around the playoffs at the start of the season. Didn't work out for them. Obviously their new manager took charge, wasn't the greatest start, and then it hasn't really kicked on since Steve Bruce came in anyway. But yeah, it's been quite close. I think there's been a few teams that were looking to get into that player position that have maybe just dropped form at the wrong time towards the end of the season. I know Blackburn were up there for quite a long time.
Millwall as well, one of them. They were
mathematically
in and around.
But it's an outside.
Yeah.
Basically all the teams above them to lose and to win quite handsomely themselves. So I don't think that's quite going to happen. But they've been up and around it throughout most of the season. I think QPR and Coventry both had really good starts to the season. I remember them being in and around the playoffs. Come the new year, they seem to have petered off a little bit. But you're looking at that. I'm looking at that table now. Stoke City mid-table, probably would have fancied them to have had a better season than they've had. Maybe not to quite go up, but to certainly be nearer the playoffs than they are. And for teams like Cardiff to be really struggling at the bottom, I mean, it wasn't long ago that they were in the Premier League themselves. They're a relatively strong, well-organised team. I know they're probably not the same as what they used to be. You've got Swansea down there as well, to mention the other Welsh club. It was very, very tight for quite a long time. I mean, even now I'm looking at the table and Blackpool are 16th on 60 points. Middlesbrough are 7th on 70. So a good run towards the end of the season, and any one of those teams in the middle of those would have had a chance to have gone for the playoffs. I think the run actually was Nottingham Forest. They were obviously on a really good run until they lost this evening. Huddersfield have been on a good run and sealed their place in the playoffs. But yeah, it's going to be quite difficult, I think, for the playoffs because
Yeah,
I'd say if Luton get it, the last place that you would probably want to go to in a midweek evening fixture in the playoffs is probably Kenilworth Road. I think that's the one that everybody would want to avoid.
yeah. If it stays as it is, Forest would play Luton, and Huddersfield would play Sheffield United. So I think the favourites will probably be Nottingham Forest, having just missed out.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be surprised if.
You've got to look at Forest, and I think they're a good team, and they're a young team as well. A lot of their standout players this year are all
they were
21 and under, I think, most of them. So I think if they were to come up, I think they'd if they could keep that core of young players, it will serve them well for the future. Whether it'll be enough to keep them in the Premier League if they were to get there, but certainly the future looks bright for them.
Well, when Stephen Cooper took them over, they were bottom of the league at the start of the season. So, the turnaround that they've had is just it's just huge, isn't it? It's just unbelievable. Well, I think after 8-9 games, they were bottom of the league with about 2-3 points, I think. So, so they've literally come from nowhere, and obviously if you were a Forest fan, after 9 games seeing that, you probably would be thinking of relegation more than promotion. So, I mean, that just goes to show how good the Championship is. But, it's going to be close. I think that Luton and Sheffield United will get the other 2 places. But we will have to wait and see.
Who out of the candidates do you want to come up? Is it Luton? I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think just because of the season that they've had. Like Nathan Jones he got manager of the season, and the budget that they have compared to the teams in and around them in that playoff is minuscule.
Yeah,
They've got the best out of sort of ex-Premier League players who've got, maybe 2-3 years left of their playing careers. So, he's had to be quite frugal with the money that he's had, and the money that he has had, it seems to have paid off with the players that he's brought in. So, I think if you run a poll, I think, a poll of supporters who didn't support any of those 4 clubs in the playoffs, I think the majority would be wanting Luton to go up. So
I'm quite torn because you're right. We all love an underdog, and I do want Luton to go up. But it would be nice to see Nottingham Forest, with the history. Obviously, they're a big club that suffered for quite some time in the second and third tier. To sort of get them back up would be quite nice to see. But yeah, on the other hand, to get a team like Luton who have come, let's face it, they've come from non-league and worked their way back up, from nothing really. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs. I always love the playoffs, even when I took part in it. It's the most nerve-wracking games when your team is a part of it. But there's nothing quite like the playoffs. It's not quite cup football, not quite league football. It's something totally different. And
luckily, 7-8 years ago when Yeovil were actually a half decent team and they weren't mid-table nationally, I got to see a few playoff games. I got to see them when they got to the playoff final in League One in 2007, I think it was. And they played Nottingham Forest in the in that playoff. I think they lost the first leg 2-0, I think it was, but ended up winning 5-3 second leg. So, and then they played Blackpool in the playoff final and lost 2-0. And then the season after that was when Blackpool went to the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then not too long ago, it seems like a long time ago, but it's obviously to where they are now, saw them play Sheffield United in the League One playoff. And again, they lost 1-0 at Sheffield United, but then won 2-0 at Hewish Park. I've never ever seen a crowd like it when Yeovil scored the second. It was Ed Upson who scored the second. It was a header. And I was in the terrace standing behind the goal, and it went absolutely crazy. And then we obviously Yeovil got through to the playoff final, and they played Brentford and won. So that seems like a long, long time ago now.
Think where Sheffield United went after that, and
yeah, exactly, yeah,
and yeah, big gap between them now. But yeah, they'll be back, I'm sure. Might be a while, but they'll be back.
Yeah, well. So that's it for Talking Points this week. End of part 1. In part 2, we'll be back with Wonders of White, a relegation themed quiz for Liam, and Who Am I with a bit of a twist. So we'll be back in 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this week's View from the Sideline podcast. We're going to have some fun now with the Wonders of White. So Bruno Fernandes has scored his 50th Manchester United goal in all competitions yesterday. That's 22 more than any other player in the same time frame of when he made his debut. So Rashford is on 28, I believe. Wow. So that just goes to show how big of a player Fernandes is for Manchester United.
I'm not going to make the obvious comment and ask how many penalties were involved, but do you know how many penalties were involved?
49 of the 50 were penalties. Fernandes. The next one. So 3 of the 5 biggest wins in the EFL this season have come from Fulham. So they've beaten Blackburn, Reading and Luton 7-0 this season.
Oh. The amount of goals they've scored. What did you say?
106. So they broke a record for most goals scored in the Championship. And then Mitrovic broke a record for most goals scored in one season in the Championship.
43 goals with a game left as well. So yeah,
mad.
Yeah, fair play. I mean, yeah, worthy champions.
Watford have lost 11 home games in a row, which is a new Premier League record. Imagine paying to watch that.
Yeah, you wouldn't be happy if you're a season ticket holder, would you? For that to be worse than Villa's 2015-2016 season, you know, I feel for them. That was bad enough. So, yeah, 11 in a row.
And this one actually goes back to last week. So Manchester United and Chelsea is now the most outright drawn game in the Premier League, with 25 of the meetings ending in draws.
Always a dull game, isn't it? Chelsea and United.
It's always very close. So, next, Liam, I have a quiz for you, and it's a relegation themed quiz.
Excellent.
And this is themed around the Premier League years, I would say. Some of these are pretty difficult, I'm not going to lie. I've had to throw in a few there that are obvious just to make sure that your score looks half decent at the end.
It's nice to know you have faith in
So, yeah.
Throwing a few easy ones for you. Yeah, okay, let's do this.
So question 1, which team have been relegated the most from the Premier League?
Oh, I think it is Norwich. I think I saw that.
So they were, I believe they were on 5. And they were already in the lead for relegation, so they've actually added to that to make it 6 now.
It's hard for a Norwich fan, isn't it?
No, it's not good. So name all 6 teams that have never been relegated from the Premier League.
Well, it used to be Villa, but
it was 7 until 5 years ago, apparently.
Yeah, it was. Thanks. So there's 6 left. So we've got Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs, and which one have I missed? Everton.
Everton is correct. Which manager has been relegated the most times from the Premier League?
Ooh. Now that is tricky.
I will give you a clue. It's not a recent manager.
Okay. Not a recent manager. I'm going to go old school and go Dave Bassett. Because I know he went down a few times.
Yeah, it was Dave Bassett. 3 times he's been relegated.
That's not bad for a guess, that.
No, very good, very good. I'm trying to think of the teams I saw that he'd relegated.
I basically remember one being Leicester City.
Yeah, Leicester, Palace, and there was another one. I can't remember who it was now. It might have been Ipswich. In 2008, Derby were relegated with a record lowest point score, but how many points was it?
Oh, now we're going back, aren't we? It was nothing. I mean, they won one game, didn't they? I'm going to go with 10.
Close. It was 11. But you were right. They won one game and drew 8.
I remember that season. I saw a fact not so long ago that they were unbeaten against Newcastle that season, which you just, yeah, made me chuckle.
This one I have clues. We said which was the manager that's been most relegated, but which player has been relegated the most? And it's 5 times he's been at a club and they've been relegated from the Premier League. Oh. Again, think late 90s, early 2000s.
Late 90s, early 2000s to be relegated.
I can list the teams that he was relegated with. If needed.
Right. Late 90s, early 90s.
Well, I would say mid to late 90s.
Okay.
But to be fair, I think the first 2 that he was at, I don't think he was like a regular. I think he was quite young.
Okay. So we're looking at sort of late 90s to mid 90s when he's sort of playing a lot. I don't know. This is quite difficult. But give me a few clubs that he went down with. You don't have to give me them.
I'll give you them all. It's fine.
Okay.
So Palace, Wimbledon, Ipswich, Charlton, and Portsmouth.
I have got no idea. I'm gonna go for.
I'll give you one more clue before you say it.
Okay.
He was a centre back.
Well, oh God, I don't know. I'm going to go with Kenny Cunningham because I remember him playing for Wimbledon.
Not quite. So it was Herman Hreidsson.
Of course it was. I forgot all about him. That is a blast from the past.
It was a blast from the past. So Portsmouth is probably where he's most known. Charlton and Portsmouth for us would probably be where he's most known. Palace and Wimbledon was a bit of a... When I checked his stats on Wikipedia, he didn't really play that much for them because I think he was a youngster at the time. So it's probably a bit unfair that he is the most relegated player in history when I think he only played a handful of games for both teams.
Oh, no, you have on your CV, that is it.
No. But yeah, we probably know him from the Portsmouth team that got relegated. This one, I expect you to get. So, what was the year that Aston Villa were relegated to the Championship?
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Sorry, I was clutching at this point.
It was 2015-2016 season.
It was, yeah. This next one blew my mind, even though it only happened 5 years ago.
Okay.
So, who was the manager when Sunderland were relegated in the 2016-2017 season?
Who was the manager when they were relegated?
Again, I have one clue for you.
Yeah, okay, go on then.
So he is actually managing in the Premier League right this minute.
God. Who would it have been? They went through so many managers back then. And around that time, all I can think about is Paolo Di Canio was there, and it wasn't him. And Dick Advocat was there, and it wasn't him.
Oh my God, they had so many managers, didn't they?
There's Gus Poyet as well. I thought it was.
He was there, yeah. No, he was there, yeah.
But it's obviously not because he's not managing the Premier League now. I don't know. I'm going to have to give up on that one. I don't know.
I can give you one more clue.
Go on then.
He manages a team in London.
Manages a team in London. Oh, it's got to be Moyes, hasn't it?
God, it's got to be David Moyes. It is David Moyes. Didn't even remember that happening.
No, and I couldn't even remember the other day. I was reading an interview with him when he was saying that West Ham should never have let me go, and I was thinking, what is he talking about? He's at West Ham, but they sacked him and then bought him back, and that was 2 years ago.
Didn't he manage a team in Spain, like Real Sociedad or something? Or am I just making that up?
No, he did go out there. I had a look the other day, and he didn't actually do badly out there. I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was I think it might have been Real Sociedad. And they were bottom of the league when he took charge, and he ended up mid-table with them. And then they let him go the next season. But yeah, I'd forgotten all about that, all about him being Sunderland manager.
So this one I think you'll get, but I was really struggling at this point. So which founding member of the Premier League have just been relegated to the National League?
That was Oldham.
Yes, it is Oldham.
Sad for them this weekend. A good club been ruined by bad ownership, unfortunately for them.
So you did pretty well. To be fair, you got the Dave Bassett one right, which I thought you'd get wrong.
That was a big fluke. And
you got the Derby County one wrong, and I thought you'd get that one right. But you got Ryderson wrong as well, so you only got 2 wrong. So
that's all right.
You did pretty well.
I will take that.
And it was within theme of the talking points of relegation. So
yeah.
There you go. Right, so Liam's next up with Who Am I? But I've been told it's a bit different.
There is a slight twist this week. So basically what I'm gonna give you a few statements before, just so you know a few facts about this player and the way that I'm going to do it. So what I can tell you is that this player's played for 7 clubs in total.
Mm-hmm.
He has retired, and I'm going in reverse order.
Oh, we're going back. We're moonwalking.
So I'm going to start with the club that he retired at, right? But what I'm going to do is, rather than read them all out, I'm going to read you the first 3.
Yeah.
If you get it right, I'll give you 5 points.
Okay.
And then I'll give you another one, and if you get it right, it's 4 points, and then 3, then 2, and then 1 for all the clubs.
Going for 1 then.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. Excellent. So, the last 3 clubs he played for, so in order. So the club he retired at was Bolton Wanderers.
Right.
And the 2 clubs that came before that were Newcastle Jets and Aston Villa. 5 points. Can you tell me who that is?
Newcastle Jets. This is kind of right up my alley because I actually do.
A big fan of the A-League. So
I am a connoisseur of the A-League. And there were I'm assuming he's probably English because if he, did you say it was Bolton, Jets, and then Villa?
Yes.
This would have been around. There's not many English players that have played for the Newcastle Jets. There's one really obvious one.
Oh,
and he actually didn't do too bad over there. But I believe he also signed for the A-League the same time as another really, really good player. So he was outshone. The only player I think of. So can I guess, or so if I guess, am I completely out?
No, I will carry on.
Okay.
You're at one guess per round.
I know, is Emil Heskey? Oh, yeah.
It is Emil Heskey. Yes.
I know that.
Yes. I didn't know whether Newcastle Jets was too big a hint. Now looking back, yes, it is. But I'd forgotten he played for Bolton Wanderers entirely. I've tried to forget he played for Villa, but sadly it's still there in the memory.
It really worked out for him at Villa, did it?
No, signed by O'Neill, 9 goals in 92 games. Kind of says it all, really. And then, obviously, his other teams before that, Wigan Athletic, Birmingham City, Liverpool, and Leicester.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have gone the other way either.
Who was the other way out of interest?
Who was the other player?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who it was.
Because I know there's an old England player out there as manager.
No, he wasn't English. It was,
because my other thought was Newcastle Jets. I can't remember whether that's the team that Robbie Fowler played for, but I know he went out to...
Robbie Fowler played for Perth Glory.
Perth Glory, there you go.
Yeah,
my A-League knowledge isn't quite as good.
That's the team that I follow.
I shouldn't have...
Yeah.
Who knows?
Trying to think who it was. It was someone really like at the end of their sort of.
Del Piero went out there.
That's it. That's who it was.
Yeah, and I think David Villa went out there as well for a bit.
I think it was. They all signed. There's a famous picture of Emil Heskey, and I think it is with Del Piero. But I think they played for different. I think Del Piero played for. Hang on, I am going to Google it quickly.
I'm going to see if there is an actual picture of Emil Heskey and Del Piero because they shouldn't be sharing the same pitch.
Yeah, because Del Piero played.
There is.
Yes. They're together. Are they together?
They are. They're sort of cross arms staring at each other.
Yeah. So he signed for. I think Del Piero signed for Sydney, and Heskey signed for the A-League for the Newcastle Jets. They were like the first two big sort of European players to come over and play in the A-League. Because the A-League, I'm not sure if you know, but they've got like a cap on wage, same sort of thing as America.
Yeah.
So although they are allowed more, I know America only allowed like 3 players, I think, on above the wage cap. But there is a famous photo, if anyone's seen it, of Del Piero and Heskey standing next to each other.
I would urge you to Google it. Yeah, one of the greatest players of a generation.
Standing next to Del Piero.
Yeah, but interesting. I've never seen that before, so that's made me really laugh.
The thing is with the A-League, it's on very early in the morning. So unless you've got some reason to be up that early, i.e. you have children, then you wouldn't really be catching it. I don't know if you fancy it. It is that the Melbourne teams seem to sort of dominate at the moment, and the team I follow, Perth Glory, are actually rock bottom at the moment, at 8 points off. But there's no relegation. There are new teams in there. MacArthur FC. I don't know that they've joined the A-League this season, and I think they've got more teams joining in the next couple of years. So,
And I think that should be your task for the remainder of the season, is to find me an A-League team to follow. Preferably that isn't Perth Glory. I mean, let's be honest. Let's have some rivalry.
They're 8 points off, so I wouldn't.
Maybe next season we should have an A-League segment to the team.
It's a bit weird because they obviously their league runs different to they're 25 games in at the moment. So, but they have got some players out there that people.
Sturridge there at the minute, I think. Although it might be coming to an end.
Lafondra plays out there. He plays for Sydney.
Nice.
Craig Noon, remember him?
Yeah.
He plays for one of the Needs. He plays for MacArthur out there. Gary Hooper.
Blimey, yeah.
He plays for Phoenix out there. Jay O'Shea, another ex.
Yeah.
He's out there. Mariappa.
Oh, blimey, I thought he'd retired a long time ago.
Wardwell's playing for Western Sydney Wanderers. So yeah, they've got a few.
They're trying to do an MLS thing, aren't they, and get some sort of bigger.
Yeah. They are getting it out there. Carl Jenkinson, remember him? He's playing for Melbourne City.
England international, no less.
Yeah, Man United's ex-player Scott Wooten, playing for Phoenix. I'm just literally going down the list of players that are out there now.
We are starting to scrape the barrel a little bit there with. I mean, I've never heard of Scott Wooten before. Apologies to United fans, but no, I couldn't tell you what position he played.
Adama Traore, not the Adama Traore.
Not that one.
He's the wish version of Adama Traore. But yeah, no, it's good league. It's good league. It was good last season 4 because Perth were doing actually really well. But no, not so. So yeah. Right, that's it. Anything else?
Just to say that it's Villarreal Liverpool tonight, and when we started recording this, it was comfortable Villarreal all over them, 2-0 up, and they've performed an incredible miracle, Liverpool, and come back, and they're 3-2 up at the minute. So let's go catch the final sort of 10 minutes of that, I think.
Yeah, Villarreal have had someone sent off as well.
Oh, have they? I missed that. I just
Etienne Capoue has been sent off.
Ah, there you go. But yeah, so it looks like
they're being 2-0 up as well. 2-0 up first half.
So it's going to be down to who they play, isn't it? Madrid and Man City tomorrow. So looking forward to that.
Yep. Okay. Well, we will speak next week.